All right, old school NBA fans, self-researched, NBA facts. Got another video for you. As always, thanks to anybody who watches my videos, subscribes to my channel. I really appreciate it. I want to give a special thanks to G the Great One. Thanks again, my man, for your super thanks. Much appreciated. And to Isle Sabag, man, thank you so much for your consistent generosity for this channel. It does not go unnoticed, and it is so much appreciated, especially in these kind of lean times in YouTube, being the summer and all. So, man, much appreciated. Any super thanks I get, thank you guys very much, really. In this video here, I'm going to talk about some of Michael Jordan's competition that gets overlooked, glossed over, simply because they didn't make the Hall of Fame. Big media, who obviously is carrying LeBron James's water, they make the big deal about the Hall of Fame thing because, number one, these guys made the Hall of Fame in part because they were able to beat LeBron multiple times, and also because they played a full career. They didn't have injuries, nothing happened to them. Well, good for them. Imagine if Klay Thompson and Draymond Green, say, after 2018, they got hurt, barely played, bounced around from team to team, were definitely not themselves again. They're not going to make the Hall of Fame, even with the championships. Well, that's what happened to a lot of players, high-level players who played against Jordan. Penny Hardaway comes to mind. That's a guy that absolutely was going to the Hall of Fame. He already had 2 top 10s for MVP, 2 first-team All-NBAs, including a top 3 for MVP. That's high-level stuff right there. Another guy that, again, just glossed over because he didn't make the Hall of Fame, and I think he probably should be in based on who's in there now.
Over the first 2 games. Here's Johnson, yes, and the Suns with a 4-0 lead. Good luck, and Dumas puts it away. Outstanding effort. Holding foul, called on Pack. Ready to return. Has come on for the first time. Here's Johnson, yes. Johnson gets it down for Chambers, and Phoenix is up by 2. Lead, it is Phoenix ball with 2 minutes and 15 seconds left in the third. Kevin Johnson. Johnson.
That screen with different personnel. It's
Ames with the pick for Kevin Johnson. Yes.
KJ, my man, he's got 5 All-NBAs, 3 times top 11 for MVP. This guy should be getting MVP consideration, absolutely, and he was in his prime when he played Jordan in the finals. And another guy.
Left away from behind, Ricky goes back to get it, fires it cross court, Kemp's got it right up into the alley, powers!
Out ahead to Kemp. Kemp will run across midcourt, dribbles by Johnson to the cup. Oh, thundering!
Lead pass to Kemp, he'll play it down! What a line!
Inside of the key. They rotate it over to Campbell for the baseline flip. Won't go. Kemp all over that rebound like a bad suit. Out of backcourt, he comes out of the blocks on fire. Oh my goodness!
Drexler splits the defense. Big block by Shaun Kemp. Slap the ball up into the 3rd or 4th row.
Almost defeated attitude. Make himself a factor.
There is Kemp. Nice move by Shaun. Able to hang in to make the defensive play. And it leads to shot clock is down to 5.
Yeah, how about my man Kemp? Telling me Shaun Kemp wasn't on a trajectory for Hall of Fame? No doubt about it. 4 times in the top 11 for MVP. That's very good. How about this very quiet, gentle giant that never gets talked about? His career was cut short by injuries, but he was absolutely another guy on a trajectory of a Hall of Fame.
Daugherty out of early shot attempts.
Daugherty backing Cartwright in. The jump hook goes.
Him down on his leg right now in the lane.
Dance over Grant.
4-2, leaping him out, using his hands.
There's that jump hook to him. Daugherty, nice move inside.
Forwards are giving it defensively right now. Did not have a blue shirt anywhere near Scottie Pippen.
Quick move by Daugherty and the reverse jam.
Close throughout. Here's Nance dumping it off. Daugherty, yes, and it counts. A foul committed by Pippen. 6 of 7 from the line.
Brad Daugherty was solid, but he was also in an era when you had Moses Malone, Robert Parrish, David Robinson, Akeem Olajuwon, Shaquille O'Neal. He was playing in that time. I think he only played with Shaq 1 or 2 seasons, but I'm just saying, Alonzo Mourning too, Mutombo. but the changing of the guard from the old centers to the new, there was always just a little bit better center. But Daugherty was very good. He's got 3 top 11s for MVPs. That's really good. And of the years that I named those guys, mostly from 1989 to 96 is pretty much in that era. Jordan played against these guys multiple times in some cases. Well, here's who they were going against on that MVP ballot. In 1989, the top 75 players who were on the MVP ballot, meaning obviously they're playing at a high level or they wouldn't be on the MVP ballot. Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Karl Malone, Patrick Ewing, Hakeem Olajuwon, Charles Barkley, John Stockton, Robert Parrish, Moses Malone, and Isaiah Thomas. Those 10 top 75 players were on the ballot. So a player like a Brad Daugherty, for example, that's pretty good to be able to get right in there with those guys. In 92, you had Charles Barkley, Michael Jordan, Karl Malone, Patrick Ewing, David Robinson, Clyde Drexler, Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, John Stockton, and Larry Bird. Another 10 top 75 players playing high level. 1993, Charles Barkley, Hakeem Olajuwon, Michael Jordan, Patrick Ewing, Dominique Wilkins, Shaquille O'Neal, David Robinson, Karl Malone, Clyde Drexler, John Stockton. That's another 10 right there. How about 1994, a season that saw Isaiah Thomas retired mid-season, never to play again. Michael Jordan retired. Kevin McHale retired the year before. So you're losing a lot of top 75 players out of the league. But even still, in 94, on the MVP ballot, you had Hakeem Olajuwon, David Robinson, Scottie Pippen, Shaquille O'Neal, Patrick Ewing, Gary Payton, Karl Malone, Charles Barkley, Dennis Rodman, John Stockton, and Dominique Wilkins. That's 11 top 75 players. So now we're going to get to the guy that I think is so underrated, so undervalued, so overlooked. Nobody pays any attention to the Cleveland Cavaliers from 89 to 93. Why? Because they couldn't beat the Bulls. So they must be bums, right? Yeah, I don't think so. How about right here, never gets any kind of love, and he would have thrived in this era today. He was a nasty player, man. Overlook him at your peril.
A lot of savvy about that.
Price penetrating.
Right by it.
He'll take it all the way in. If you stop him short, he hits the 18-footer, and if you don't stop him there, he hits the three-pointer. If you don't stop him there, he dishes it off to somebody.
Well, he just made his 113th out of 120 playoff foul shots. He's at 95%.
He's having trouble when he penetrates. He's getting trapped inside there from long range. Price with the
top. Then Michael Jordan is popping back. Oh, boy.
Price has 6 to consecutive.
What your forwards are giving you defensively right now.
Has 5 assists already. Oh, great Chicago defense. There's nothing new. Mark Price, the only one.
He stops so quickly. You know that he's gutsy and he'll take it all away. But that one right there, the lead knee is out in front of him. So
50 seconds remaining. Price for 3. Yes! And he's tied the game.
Mark Price. He finished 10th for MVP in 1989, 7th in 92, 8th in 93, and 9th in 94. Against all those top 75 players that I just listed. So he's obviously taken down some of these guys to be able to get into the top 10. Had to have. On a team where he didn't have any Hall of Famers. He had Brad Daugherty on his team. 94, though, he got injured, and so did Larry Nance. And still, he managed to finish 9th for MVP without those guys. But let me tell you a little something about Mark Price. He's got the same number of top 10 for MVPs. And that's got to mean something, because the media voted him in as one of the 10 most valuable players in the whole NBA 4 separate times. When you want to compare that to top 75 players, that's the same number as Paul Arizin, Dave Bing, Billy Cunningham, who actually one of his was in the ABA. He won the ABA MVP, but one of those was ABA, worth mentioning. Clyde Drexler, Bob McAdoo, and Isaiah Thomas. So he has the same number of top 10 finishes for MVP as those guys. And you want to see the number of top 75 players that he had more top 10 finishes than? Whoa. Ray Allen, he had 1. Dave DeBusschere had 1. Walt Frazier, 3. Hal Greer, 1. Sam Jones had 3. Jerry Lucas had 2. Maravich, 1. Kevin McHale, 1. Reggie Miller and Earl Monroe never had top 10 MVP finishes. Robert Parrish had 2. Paul Pierce only had 1. All that trash that dude talks about, oh, that was a better score than this guy. I could do this better than this guy. You had 1 top 10 finish for MVP in your entire career, Paul Pierce. And you had Antoine Walker, I guess. So you were the best player on your team for what, the first 7-8 years of your career? And you can only muster 1 top 10? Yeah, I don't want to hear it, dude. You're top 75, but you ain't top 25 or whatever your mind is telling you think you are. He had more than Dennis Rodman, who had 1. More than Bill Sharman, he had 2. More than Bill Walton, who had 2. A lot of it had to do with injuries, but somehow Bill Walton got rewarded for, even though he was injured frequently, and you can't even put together a career for this guy. They put him in anyway. Yeah, he won an MVP. Yeah, he won a Finals MVP. He won a Sixth Man of the Year. But come on, his career was so sporadic with injuries. I don't even know how you could piece anything together to put him in top 75. Lenny Wilkins only ever had 1, and James Worthy had none. So all these players, Mark Price had the same or more top 10 for MVP finishes than all these guys. And a lot of these guys, like I said, Brad Daugherty has 3 top 11 finishes for MVP. Shaun Kemp has 4 top 11 finishes for MVP. Kevin Johnson has 3 top 11 MVP finishes. Paul Pierce has 3 top 11s. That's the same as Brad Daugherty or Kevin Johnson. Now, I'm not saying that any of these guys are necessarily better than any of these top 75 players. But what I am saying, though, is in a 5, 6, 7 year window, oh yeah, you can easily make the case that these guys were just as good, if not better, than some of these top 75 players. The difference is a lot of these guys got championships. They were the 3rd and 4th best player on championship teams, or they played a lot longer. They didn't get hurt. Well, good for them. That does not mean they're better. That just means they played long enough and won some championships to make the Hall of Fame. Now, some guys don't need championships or even longevity. That's nice for them. Say like a David Robinson. He retires after the 98 season. Say he played from 1990 to 98 and then called it quits. He's going to the Hall of Fame. His career was that good. Luckily, he did win a couple championships after when Tim Duncan got there and all that. But I'm just saying, some players, sure, they were so good that you had to put them in. But during their heyday, these players right here were awesome. They were as good as top 75 players. No doubt about it. But they didn't get the championships, say, like a Dave DeBusschere. Dave DeBusschere was a nice all-around offensive and defensive player. But he won 2 championships on the Knicks as at least the 3rd best player. He wasn't better than Walt Frazier. He wasn't better than Willis Reed. Earl Monroe, he was probably the 4th best player on that 73 Knicks team that won the championship. Exactly. He got that. Without it, I don't think he even gets in. Robert Parrish, he was probably the 3rd best player on all those championship teams, right? Not that he wasn't great, but I'm saying that enhanced his legacy. That with the longevity, that's how you get in the Hall of Fame. And I'm not questioning anybody on this list or anybody else's credentials. But what I am saying is, Hall of Fame is not the measure to use to say if a guy is good or not. That's so stupid. Say, oh, the Phoenix Suns, they only had 1 Hall of Famer. Well, how good was Tom Chambers in his prime? Now, granted, 93, he was just outside his prime, but still a very good player. How good was he? A bum? He's what, a 4-time All-Star? Made All-NBA, All-Star MVP? How about Kevin Johnson? 5-time All-NBA, 4 top 11 for MVPs, like Mark Price. Shaun Kemp, even after Seattle, he went to Cleveland. He made some All-Stars. He finished 11th for MVP in 99 with the Cavaliers. But then he got overweight and whatever he did, but does not take away from how good Shaun Kemp was in the whole 90s, basically. Shaun Kemp was an excellent player. I would say outside of Barkley and Malone, he might have been the third best power forward of the decade. I think he might have been. And that, believe me, that's saying something. And yeah, that means he probably was better than Rodman. Probably during that time. Overall career, no, he wasn't. But during that time, probably. But Rodman got the championships. Was Dennis Rodman the best player on the 89 and 90 Pistons? No. Was he the second best player? I still say it was Dumars. Third best player, probably. I would say Rodman was the third best player on all his championships, actually. So that's the type of stuff. If Dennis Rodman never wins a championship, let's say he had the same defensive credentials and all that stuff. Now, I'm not saying Dennis Rodman is Michael Cooper. He was definitely better than Michael Cooper. But I'm just saying, people can look at it and be like, if he didn't win those championships, is he in the Hall of Fame? We know Michael Cooper isn't. Nobody's going to convince me that Mark Price was not a better player than Michael Cooper. Nobody's going to convince me otherwise. Price was a better player. Not by a lot, but he was better. Trust me. Mark Price was awesome. Well, a couple people in the comments had asked me to touch on maybe some of Jordan's lesser-known competition, how good they were. And yeah, there was other guys too. Those are just the guys that you could actually quantify how good they were going up against top 75 players. That's the best 75 players who ever played, right? Mark Price had the same or more top 10 finishes than 28 of the top 75 players. Actually, it's 76. Now, George Mikan didn't play when they had MVP. So you could probably take him out. He's like an ineligible. So make it 27 out of 75. Now, Bill Sharman, his first 4 seasons, there was no MVP ballot yet. I'm not sure he would have been on it, but maybe. But even if you want to take him off too, fine. So it's 26 out of 74 players. That's more than a third. Mark Price had more top 10 MVP finishes than those guys. And Brad Daugherty, Shaun Kemp, Kevin Johnson, those guys had probably 18 of these guys. And even Penny Hardaway, 2 top 10s. That's more than Ray Allen. That's the same as Carmelo Anthony. I'm not saying he was better than them. But at Penny Hardaway's peak, you look at 1995, 6, and 7. Those 3 seasons. You compare him against Ray Allen or Carmelo Anthony all you want. I'm saying Penny Hardaway was better than both players. That's my opinion. So anyway, that's all I got for this video. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked it, please hit the like button. If you wouldn't mind sharing, that would be great. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. I give daily content. And that's it. Until next time.